It's time for Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Here's your host, Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome to Sports Scene. Always a pleasure to talk to Mike Burnop, who's been doing the color for Virginia Tech football for 40 years. Also does basketball, played for Virginia Tech. Mike, good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's good to be on with you again, Greg.
Very good, very good. Mike, well, 1-1 going into Wofford. At least you guys got that win against Boston College, a much-needed win after the Old Dominion loss. As you know, the game was down here in Norfolk several weeks ago.
Yeah, it was, and that was a tough opener, obviously. But I think you can see if you turn it over 5 times and have 15 penalties for over 100 yards, you're not going to win many games. You know, ask the Cincinnati Bengals that or any of these other number of teams. But I think you had to start somewhere, right, under a new regime, and it didn't go well. And you give Old Dominion credit. But the way that the guys bounced back against Boston College, and obviously a much bigger, more important game because it was a conference game, it was good to see. You know, they only had 5 penalties, didn't turn the ball over. The defense got after it, and the offense was efficient. So I thought it was a good bounce back, and now you try to build on it this week and going forward.
Mike, what about the Wofford game? 11 o'clock start on the ACC network, of course, on the Virginia Tech radio network. That's a pretty early start for young college kids.
It is, especially after an 8 p.m. start, right? You're going from one end of the spectrum to the other. And the challenge is, obviously, that you got to get up and, you know, they stay in Roanoke, Greg, because there's no place up here that's really big enough or has enough room in the meeting space. So they go down and stay at the Hotel Roanoke on Friday night before a game. So you literally think about the pregame meal is going to be at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, which is not ideal. But on the flip side, you get it over with, and it's going to be good in that regard because it's going to be a fast turnaround because you got West Virginia coming in here on Thursday night. So not going to be a lot of time in between for practicing.
Absolutely. What's the feel with Coach Pry? Of course, he was with Coach Beamer back in the mid-'90s. It seems like he's learning as he's going on, evolving week to week.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a challenge. I mean, when you think about the logistics of things for him, you know, he's used to have that headset on and all it was on was the defense, and now he's got to be flipping that toggle switch, right, between the offense and letting the guys make the adjustments on defense. And it has been a little bit of a change, and I think some of that stuff came up in the Old Dominion game. Being at home and being game 2, things went much smoother, and I think from here on out it's only going to get better. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things that you got to go through some growing pains.
Want to thank our good friends at BJ's Restaurant and Brew House at 12090 Jefferson Avenue at the Tech Center in Newport News, serving lunch and dinner. As we're talking to Mike Burnop, of course, you mentioned all the games coming up, and, of course, Tech is always trying to look ahead. You can't look too far past Wofford, but then you mentioned West Virginia, then, of course, North Carolina. They've scored a lot of points this year already, too.
Yeah, and they've given up more, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's been interesting to watch them. I mean, that game against Appalachian State was absolutely incredible. And, you know, they were lucky to win that game, should have lost it because they had a guy wide open on the 2-point conversion, and the quarterback kind of out-threw him a little bit. And so, yeah, they could be in a little bit of a trouble too, but they are giving up some points. And we'll see. And, I think when you see that, Greg, you see a situation like that, like Appalachian State, man, you got to tip your hat to them. Those guys had their heart ripped out in that game against Carolina. Yeah, they go on the road to Texas A&M and win that game. That's pretty daggone impressive now.
Yeah, they did that against Michigan several years ago. They definitely can win those big games when it's on the line, too. And you're exactly right, Mike. Week 1, whether it's college football or the NFL, teams, coaches are vulnerable. You don't know how the players are going to mesh together. It's been a long off season, and we saw that in week 1, and teams started buttoning up a little bit on week 2. But like you said earlier, Notre Dame is off to an 0-2 start. That's not good at a big-time school.
No, I mean, it's crazy when you think about that. Yeah, I mean, they didn't play that great against Ohio State, but to have Marshall in your backyard and so much at stake and lose that game, that's not a good start for Coach Freeman, who's actually now 0-3 because they lost their bowl game after Brian Kelly had left last year. So, yeah, they won't put up with that long up there at Notre Dame country, I'll promise you that.
And Mike, they didn't put up with it at all in Nebraska. I mean, who would have thought Nebraska would ever lose to Georgia Southern? Nothing against Georgia Southern, but still, that was the iceberg that tipped over.
Yeah, and the shocker to that whole thing, Greg, is that you think about it, and people talk about Brent Pry as a perfect fit for Virginia Tech, right? He was here in the mid '90s, '95, '6, and '7 under Beamer and Foster. Kind of cut his teeth as a GA. But you think about Nebraska, Frost, right? The dude was an incredible player there, had incredible success when he was coaching down in Central Florida. And to go there, you thought, man, that's a perfect fit, right? And it didn't work out. And so you just never know what might happen or what could happen. And you feel bad for him in that program because, boy, Tom Osborne, they had that thing rolling back in the day. I'll never forget when the Hokies played them in the Orange Bowl. They trotted out about 130 players. It was like one big dude after another. And they had it going back in the day, but now they got to rebuild that whole thing.
And like starting from scratch all over again. Don't forget our good friends at CP Shucker is the locals tradition on Shore Drive, Pacific Avenue. Delicious food, great appetizers, steak bites. Go by and see Matt and Mark and all the games on TV. And I tell you also, Mike, that I think Thursday night college football is going to start getting better again on regular TV, like for your game against West Virginia, just because the NFL is going to Amazon on Thursdays. And a lot of people still don't have that or they're for it.
Yeah, I agree. And, that's I'm glad to see that game with West Virginia on a Thursday night because, when you go back to the Big East days, you think about that, Greg, that kind of put Virginia Tech on the map back in the day. And they were willing to do that in the Big East Conference and certainly paid big dividends. And, the Hokies played them up there last year in Morgantown at noon on a Saturday, and it wasn't, it was pretty calm. But this game here on a Thursday night after students have had a chance to lather up during the day, I think that atmosphere will be pretty wild.
Talking to Mike Berman, he is the partner of Bill Roth, and Bill Roth is back. Mike has been doing Virginia Tech football for 40 years. You've had a lot of different partners the last few years. It's not just been straight Bill for the last several decades. And you've worked well with Lays. You've worked well with all these people.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I got into it way back early on with Jeff Charles for 5 years. He came with Bill Dooley, and Jeff is still working down at East Carolina. He has been down there since he left. And then I had that great run with Bill, 27 years, and then Lays. So really, you only work with 3 guys. That's pretty daggone good over a 40-year span. And so it's been fun, great, good having Bill back. It was a natural fit after Lays left because he was just across campus as a professor of practice anyway. So, yeah, the timing and everything worked out great, and it's good to have him back.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, Virginia Tech, a big part, a lot of Hampton Roads, people that live down here have gone to Virginia Tech, a lot of alumni and so forth. I'm very curious, Mike, how Virginia will do against Old Dominion this week.
Yeah, you never know. Old Dominion had a tough one against East Carolina, but I think East Carolina showed everybody they should have beaten NC State, right? They had a great opportunity in that game. So the Pirates are not too bad. So it'll be interesting. They got a rebound. Obviously they didn't play very well at Illinois. And to keep that high-powered offense down and not have a touchdown, that was pretty shocking to me because Brennan Armstrong is really good, and those receivers are good. So I think you'll see them bounce back.
Yeah, it's tough to win on the road. It just is. I don't care what team you're playing. If you're not 100% focused, it's a fine line, Mike. When you talk about is it more of the mental mistakes early, the physical mistakes, people being out of line? What is the vulnerabilities in September compared to later in the season?
Well, it's just a little bit of a combination of everything, just like you said, all that stuff. And, when you think about the NFL, some of those guys, the starters, don't even play in the preseason, or they'll play a series or two here or there, or maybe a quarter. So they haven't even messed yet. And, when you go to the college level, when there's you can only scrimmage 2 times, and you can't tackle to the ground 2 days in a row. They limit so much that you can do. It is difficult when you play those opening games and those opening 2 or 3 games to get in any kind of a rhythm. And a lot of that's done to protect the players. But, here you go from not being able to practice much to a 4:07. That game at Old Dominion, I think, was 4 hours and 7 minutes. That's asking a lot out of these kids to get it going. So I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. And, of course, for Virginia Tech, a first-year coach, new staff, new system, there's so many things that go into that a lot can go wrong.
And sometimes I don't think fans understand the sweat, the blood, the tears. Of course, it's year-round, but playing football in August, especially in areas that has high humidity, they lose a lot of body weight fast and have to stay really hydrated.
No, they do, and the Hokies were lucky there. I mean, they did a great job. I don't think not one player had an IV during or after that game with Old Dominion, so the nutrition staff and the training staff did a great job of keeping those guys hydrated, which is certainly important in these early games. But it is a weird sport because you think about it, man. You're playing, it's hot as hell when you start, and it's freezing cold when you finish, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's the one sport that's kind of nuts.
It's such a mental game toward the end, when you play so many games. Mike, all the best. Good luck against Wofford. I personally like the early start, 11 o'clock in the morning. You have the rest of your day to go to dinner or whatever you want to do.
Sure. Absolutely. Get ready for those Mountaineers. That's going to be a fun one, Greg.
Yeah, very good. All the best, Mike, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Yeah, same to you. Good to have me on. Thanks. I appreciate it, buddy.
My pleasure. Mike Burnop right there has been part of Virginia Tech for 40 years, as a student there as well. Of course, don't forget our good friends at Me Hogar at 4201 Granby Street in Norfolk. Give them a call at 640-7705. Seasonal specials, whether it's food or beverages, right there. Me Hogar MexicanRestaurant.com. Go by and see Armando. Sports Scene will continue right after this. And welcome back to Sports Scene. Let's welcome our guest, Gina Ippolito from Smithfield VA Events. Gina, how are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. How are you?
Very good. Well, we're getting closer to the fall at least, and of course that time of the year, a lot of good events happening, and of course you guys have your Bacon Bourbon Fest.
We do. It's coming up October 1st. It'll be here before we know it, and we're super excited. It is sold out, and we're just looking forward to bringing it back again. We got to hold this event last fall. It was our first post-COVID festival. So we're just super excited that we're getting to do it again this year, and everybody is all excited about it.
Yeah, it really is a big social event as well.
It is. We have a strong sponsorship program. We have lots of general admission tickets. Of course, this event, people get really excited about the bourbon tastings and all of the bacon. Everybody gets half a pound of bacon, which is about 8 thick Smithfield slices of bacon, and gets to go through our bacon condiment bar if they want to, so they can dress it up with lettuce, tomatoes, nacho cheese, pancake syrup. I mean, whatever you want to add to it. There's all kinds of selections in there. But the bourbon is what most people get excited about.
Very good, very good. Well, tell us the date and the venue.
It is October 1st, and it is held at Windsor Castle Park on the historic Manor House Riverfront Festival area. And we have 3 stages with music. We have the amphitheater stage and the beer stage, and then we do a smaller group on the steps of the Manor House. So there's lots of entertainment. There's retail vendors. We also have the Virginia breweries out for this event. All the tickets include the Virginia beer tastings, and then, like I said, if you get the bourbon ticket, you can add the bourbon tastings to that as well. So it's we got our fingers crossed for some great weather again this year, and everybody's looking forward to it. I think all the hotel rooms are sold out as well this year already. So,
well, absolutely, and of course, sponsors always play a big part of it as well. You mentioned, and of course, that's a lot. I went to a wedding recently here, and I see how much planning goes into a wedding. I can only imagine that was only with about 100 people invited. How much planning goes into one of these events?
Yeah, we do we do about 3,350 people at this event, and of course, Smithfield is our presenting sponsor, and they provide us with all the bacon, which is 2,400 pounds of bacon that we cook for this event. So that is over a ton of bacon. I mean, that in itself is an event, just the bacon cooking piece of it. We start about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we cook it here on site and serve it to all the attendees that come. So that's great. First Team Automotive Group is our entertainment sponsor, and we always appreciate them. They do this event and our wine festival. So yeah, we're just rocking and rolling. We're so glad to be back holding festivals.
Absolutely. Talk about your other 2. Just preview those real quick.
So January 14th is our Bob Festival, which is our Bloody Mary Oyster event held underneath 65,000 square feet of tent space. And then April 15th is our Granddaddy event, which is our Wine and Brew Fest. We started in 2012, so this is actually our 10th season of events. So we raise money for charity. So we're almost at 1.4 million as far as donations back to the community so far since we started a decade ago. So yeah, we're doing that. And then we've added, we started them during COVID, but we've kept them because they're so popular. We do 2 manor house dinners, which are very small scale inside the newly restored 18th century manor house here at Windsor Castle Park. And we do a bourbon dinner, which is November 12th. And then we do a wine dinner, which is February 11th. And those are very upscale. We only do 20 to 25 couples at it. So it's kind of a gala type event. And, but those were very popular and we've decided to keep them. So those are a lot of fun too. You can find out all the information about our events and the manor house dinners at our website, which is smithfieldvaevents.com. So there's a festival tab and then there's a manor house dinner tab. So hope you check us out.
And what should people plan on? Because they could be out there, I'm sure some stay for several hours and they're there throughout the entire day for the October 1st event, as far as lawn chairs, as far as blankets. What do you plan on? Because that's a pretty long day.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the event itself is from 12 to 5. Our sponsors and VIP tickets get in at an hour early at 11. So it can be a long day. Most people come and stay most of the day. Mm-hmm. You are welcome to bring in lawn chairs and blankets. We do not allow, for general admission tickets, we do not allow outside food or drink for this event. But we've got the amphitheater stage. It's got a beautiful hillside hill that slopes, and so you can set up your little stadium chairs or your blankets and sit and listen to the music. Some people walk around and put their chairs in the beer village. So there's all of that going on. And then of course our sponsors, a lot of them have the private party chalets or they did a sponsor table. So they don't need to bring in their chairs or whatnot because they've got seating in their party areas.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like there's something for everyone. And of course, this is an adult-only event, correct?
It is adult only. It is 21 and up, and it is held in the grassy fields at Windsor Castle Park. So as far as like footwear or what to wear for the weather, you need to just pay attention to what is going on. We don't recommend, because it is a grass site, we don't recommend high heels or anything. And of course, if it happens to be chilly, you're going to need a sweatshirt or whatever. October, we never know what the weather is going to be like. We've had 52-degree weather the first Saturday in October, and we've had 94-degree days. So who knows?
Yeah, very good. Gina, all the best. Good luck to your Bacon Bourbon Fest and all the other events, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right, sounds good. Have a great day, Greg. Thanks.
You too. Gina Ippolito right there from Smithfield VA Events. Sports Scene will continue after this. And welcome back to Sports Scene. It's a pleasure to talk to our monthly featured guest, George McClain from The Marksman. George, how are you?
I'm doing well, Greg. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. George, tell us what's the main focus with The Marksman as we're into September, going into October with the fall. You got a lot going on.
Well, there is, and it's typically it all points down to staying safe, being safe. You got a lot of the kids as they're going back to school, out there and around. Kids kind of sometimes tend to get into things. So just because you hear something out in your yard, don't we preach don't go grabbing your gun and running after to see what's going on, and then having a unintentional discharge and somebody get hurt or worse. So again, we start with safety every day, and that's what it comes down to. So just be aware that you've got the kids out there. Also be aware if you're dropping your kids off at school or picking them up, there are laws about having your firearm in the vehicle, and that all goes with having a concealed firearms permit. So you need to do your homework, dig in there, and make sure that you're not breaking any laws. So I'm not going to get into discussing the specific law right now, but I will point you in that direction so you can do your own homework, and you got to keep yourself on the legal side of things.
You're exactly right, because when a police officer pulls you over, they're going to check your car thoroughly, George, to make sure there's no guns in there.
Typically, yeah, well, I mean, they can't search, well, under certain circumstances, but they'll typically will ask you, do you have firearms in the vehicle? And so depending on how you answer that question, that really is going to have a great impact on the rest of your day. But yes, you're exactly right. But the big thing is on school property. They may or may not have resource officers scanning visitors as they come in. By scanning, I'm talking about a verbal scan. And but if something should happen, it could be just a minor collision. If you have a firearm happens to be, I don't know, under the seat, maybe beside of you in the seat, kind of a deal, and now all of a sudden it's exposed down into the floor. You get, police involved at that point. They discover it, and there's a big issue. So I just want to make sure that the people understand that, and that they have their permits, and they know the differences between what's allowed and what's not.
George, what is going on as far as supplies and so forth in the store, as far as ammunition and everything else? When people walk in the door, they see a lot of the showroom first.
Well, they do, and you'll notice probably a huge difference between now and a year ago. We are able to get supplies on a more quickly basis, more on-demand type basis, whatever we need. Versus the way it was, even as recent as several months ago. So it's the recovery, I think, is well on its way. However, this current administration that we have are still doing their best to slow everything down when it comes to guns and ammo. And so now they've got the credit card issuers, the companies. On their side, and their new categories. If you buy a firearm or ammo using a credit card, which obviously most people do today, it's tracked under that separate category. Is it a big deal? Well, anytime you buy a gun, you're tracked. You got the 4473 that you've got to fill out, and the Virginia State Police Form 65. So that's being tracked. But ammo was never part of that, but now it is. Supposedly, what they're looking to do is to identify those who have large purchases. Somewhere along the way, they've made a comparison. I say they, the government, ATF has made comparisons between large purchases of firearms and then mass shootings, where the mass shooting, it's the number of people that's being shot, not the number of guns that the shooter has. And typically the shooter only has one, if at most two guns, usually a handgun as a sidearm, and then along with typical long gun, which obviously the AR-15 is getting all the bad press, and that's the one that they mostly would use. But they had in one, and I forget the specific instance, where an individual that was a mass shooter had purchased $21,000 worth of firearms and ammo. Didn't use all of that in his propagated on everybody, but they're trying to make that connection any way that they can. And eventually, I would anticipate the credit card companies refusing to do business with gun shops. And that's going to be a sad day when that happens. But my crystal ball says it's well on its way to being there.
Right. George, tell us about Military Mondays and First Responder Fridays going strong at the Marksman.
It's still up, and we're still doing it. So if you are a first responder, and especially with our military or GI guys, come on in and take advantage of these specials. You get a reduced rate on any other day. So your normal time in, you're going to get a reduced rate, and on the Mondays and Fridays, you're going to get a further rate reduction. So you bring a friend in, and show them around, and come in yourself. And we're really getting back kind of to the way it was. You don't need a reservation. If you would like to make a reservation, we will certainly abide by that. So you can call in and make a reservation, but reservations are no longer required. But come in and check us out. Very good. How about the hours, George? Are they starting to get back to normal? We're kind of staying where we've had them now, opening at 10 and going till 7. and it's still kind of a Monday through Saturday deal. We haven't opened back up on Sundays yet, keeping that for our concealed classes when we do. So hopefully in the future, as we get more deeper into the fall season, we may take a look at reopening on Sundays.
This is Sports Scene powered by Audacy right here, taking care of us right here with Sports Scene. And don't forget our good friends at Buffalo Wild Wings, dinner, apps, lunch, great specials, mozzarella sticks, salads, boneless traditional wings right there in Newport News. Go by and see their friendly staff 7 days a week. Your football headquarters, food and TV go great together as well. And, of course, staffing, George, it seems like y'all are always pretty well staffed, too, with a lot of family there that work there. And, of course, it's very important when the customers walk in for the first time, they see a friendly, smiley face.
Well, that's exactly right. No one likes to talk to a bunch of grumps, and we don't have any grumps. Our folks are very people-friendly. Everyone gets along fine. And that shows, to the public that there's no, issues, and people's got, an issue with somebody else. We know that the public comes first, and so it's always a smiling face, always a greet, when you come in. So you're spoken to. It's kind of like the cheers. You kind of like to go to a place where everybody knows your name. If we don't know your name the first opportunities, we'll learn it, and we'll say hi with your name.
Yeah, because that good overall experience starts before they walk in the door with their attitude as well, because it has not been easy the last couple of years. And, people are evolving as this COVID evolves as well and so forth. And now we're in flu season. So there's a lot going on as we're talking to George McClain from the Marksman. What about hunting season coming up, George? Do's and don'ts, just your overall recommendations.
Well, the biggest recommendation, again, safety. Wear your orange vest when you're out there. Find you a hunter safety course someplace that you can take, especially if it's been years since you've been out there, or if you're a newbie, if you got your young kids, your bucks growing up. Dads are great teachers. I know that, but sometimes a kid might learn something a little bit more when it comes from somebody else. So get them into a hunter safety course. That's the best advice I can give anybody on that.
The Marksman is located right there on Industrial Park Drive, convenient to the entire peninsula. Google the Marksman, like them on Facebook. And a lot of the updates, George, you guys put during the week are on Facebook as well.
That's true, Greg. Facebook is just a lot faster for us communicating to the public. Something is going on to where, with the website, if those who aren't familiar with web pages and how all that works, but there's changes. You got to have the form has got to be uploaded and posted, and it's a whole lot more involved than just making a change and hitting a button and say there you go. Everything has to be republished, and then make sure that one page works in conjunction with another page. With Facebook, we just post it on the Facebook page, and bam, it's done. Anyone can take a look at it. It's updated immediately when you open up your Facebook instrument and you look at it, you've got the current data right there in front of you.
And you recommend people to do preparation on their own about guns and gun safety before they purchase one, because that's a learning process that never goes away.
Well, that's true. We never advocate someone coming in and buying a firearm who has no experience whatsoever. That's just like going and buying a car and you don't even have a driver's license and you don't know how to drive on top of that. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you need to do your homework. Come in, get with one of our instructors, find out what type of firearm that appeals to you. That it's one that doesn't have more kick, recoil than what you can handle. That it's got levels that's easily manageable by the individual, and everybody's different in that regard. So I don't advocate anyone just coming in and buying a gun because they heard good things about it. You need to do your homework and make sure it's something that you're going to like. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to shoot it. And if you don't shoot it, you're not going to be proficient. If you're not proficient, you're not going to be safe. So one of those steps that's like a domino deal that just builds on the next one in front of it.
Yeah, you can't do it halfway. George, all the best, my friend. Good luck with all your appointments the rest of the month, and we look forward to talking to you in October.
All right. Thanks a lot, Greg. You stay safe out there.
Very good. George McClain, the owner of the Marksman. Thanks for listening to the Sports Scene. We look forward to talking to you on the next show. For Ken Carson, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. We'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.